Have you ever wondered what happens when that conductor stands up and waves their hands around? How does each section of the orchestra know what to play, and when? If you're curious about the answers to any of these questions, then keep watching. In this video, we will look at the inner workings of an orchestra and see how all the different parts come together to create that beautiful music. History and origin. Orchestra is a Greek word which means a place of dancing. About 400 years ago, mainly around 1600 in Italy, orchestras started to take on their modern form. During the early classic days, they typically had 15 to 25 musicians play a few instruments together, but more and more instruments were added over time. Orchestras grew from 25 to over 100 musicians by the Romantic era from 1830 to early 1900. With so many competing parts, these large ensembles required a conductor to keep everything together and ensure balance. They also necessitated the construction of massive concert halls, which we still use today. The first orchestras mainly consisted of string instruments like violins, violas, and cellos. But soon, other instrument families were added, like woodwinds, brass, and percussion. Nowadays, there are different types of orchestras with other numbers and combinations of instruments. But in general, they will all have four main sections: strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. The orchestra's sections. Every orchestra is unique and will have different instrumentation to create the rich sound of a symphony orchestra. Let's look at each of these sections in more detail. The string section. The string section typically consists of violins, cellos, and double basses. The violin is the highest pitched instrument in the string section, while the double bass is the lowest pitched. The other instruments all fall somewhere in between. The string section is responsible for playing the melody and harmony in an orchestra piece. Violins typically sit to the left of the conductor. In contrast, second violins typically sit to the right in order to achieve a balanced stereo sound and ensure that the two violin parts remain distinct rather than muddy. You could expect to see up to 12 violists, 12 cellists, and 8 double bassists. In order of highest pitch, the violas, cellos, and basses will be in the middle and progress from left to right. The brass section. The brass section usually consists of trumpets, trombones, French horns, and tubas. The trumpet is the highest pitched instrument in the brass section, while the tuba is the lowest pitched. Like the string section, the brass section is responsible for playing both melody and harmony. The woodwind section. The woodwind section typically contains flutes, oboes, clarinets, and bassoons. The flute is the highest pitched instrument in the woodwind section, while the bassoon is the lowest pitched. The woodwind section generally plays harmony rather than melody. A modern symphony orchestra often has 5 horns, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, and 1 tuba. Percussion instruments. Percussion instruments are any instruments that are played by being struck with a mallet or by being shaken. These instruments include timpani drums, cymbals, triangles, glockenspiel, xylophone, and maracas. Percussion instruments are usually only used to play rhythms and are not responsible for playing melody or harmony. Due to their volume and role as the rhythm section, percussionists, of which there are often between 3 and 5, will be seated at the extreme back. The conductor. The conductor is responsible for leading the orchestra and keeping everyone on tempo. The conductor gives cues to different sections to let them know when it's their turn to play. The conductor also helps create a balance between the different sections so that everyone can be heard clearly. A good example would be telling the horns to turn it down because they are drowning out the strings. The conductor's ability to use creativity to infuse the music with originality is perhaps what makes it so thrilling. The movements of a conductor can express motion, dynamism, and passion. That's a lot of power in the music conductor's hands. Other aspects of an orchestra process. To make an orchestra performance successful, a few other things need to happen behind the scenes. Let's take a closer look at some of these aspects. The music. All the music played by an orchestra is written down in a special notation called sheet music. This notation includes notes, tempo markings, dynamics, and articulations. These things help the musician to know how to play the piece correctly. Separate rehearsal. Orchestra musicians often have to rehearse their parts separately from the whole orchestra. This is so they can perfect their playing before coming together to play as a group. The final rehearsal. This process usually starts with the conductor leading a read-through of the music with just the orchestra's musicians. During this read-through, the conductor frequently stops to give feedback and make adjustments. The goal is to get everyone on the same page so that everyone knows what they need to do when it comes time to perform. After the initial read-through, the orchestra will start working on perfecting specific sections of the music. They will go over these sections repeatedly until they have them memorized and can play them flawlessly. Only once the orchestra has rehearsed a piece of music to perfection will they be ready to perform it in front of an audience. The performance. After all the hard work and rehearsal, it's finally time for the performance. When the performance day arrives, the orchestra will arrive at the venue early to set up their instruments and do a sound check. During a sound check, each section will play a few notes so the sound engineers can ensure they are being amplified properly. This is important because it ensures that everyone in the audience will be able to hear each section clearly. Once the sound check is complete, it's time for the musicians to take their places on stage. The musicians will usually sit in the same order they did during rehearsal to easily find their place in the music. When everything is ready, the conductor will step on stage and the performance will begin. The audience will watch and listen as the orchestra brings the music to life. After the performance, the audience will usually give the orchestra a round of applause. This is the musicians' cue to pack up their instruments and head back to the dressing room. And that's how an orchestra works. You see, putting on a successful orchestra performance takes a lot of hard work and dedication. But when everything comes together, it's truly a magical experience. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.